and welcome to this live stream. This is the second of our three-part series where we'll be asking questions to some of our ambassadors. And this week we have our newest category of ambassadors, and that is our data devs. My name is Lorna Brown and I am your host today. I'm a Tableau and Ultrix consultant here at the Information Lab, and I'm excited to be joined by Andre, Anya, and Lane, who are 3 out of the total 11 DataDev ambassadors. So let me just show you this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so we can see everyone's faces and we can start with some of our questions. So first off, Andre, can you please kick us off by introducing yourself? Tell us how you started using Tableau, how long for, and what was the first version you remember using?
Yes, of course. So I'm Andre. Currently, I'm a solutions engineer at the Information Lab, which basically means I help kind of the pre-sales side of things with Tableau, Ultrix, and also AWS. I've been at the Information Lab for I think it's almost 5 years now. I'm definitely a dinosaur. But yeah, I've been using Tableau since I think it was version 8. So it was before you had level of detail calculations, before you had some really, really cool stuff that we can use nowadays. I basically started out, I think I used it in my previous job. I found it great. I started interacting on Tableau Public, and that's how I got engaged with Andy Kriebel and Tom Brown, and now I'm here.
Excellent. So how about you, Lane?
Yes, so I'm Lane. I started using Tableau around 2.5 years ago when I started being part of the data school, and that was with Andy Kriebel and Carl, who's now the second coach. But yeah, the version that I was learning on, I think, was 10.2, which was before they used the years as the versions. But I think they had LODs at the time, but they didn't have anything like set actions or stuff like that. So yeah, where did I start? At the data school was how I started.
Brilliant, thank you. And Anna?
Yeah, my name is Anya, and I'm also part of the data school. I started using Tableau last year in March when I joined the Information Lab, and I think I also started with 10.2, and it didn't have as many fancy features as it has now, but here we are.
Brilliant. Okay, so this is a brand new ambassador category, which congratulations to you all for being part. Like I mentioned, you're 3 out of the total 11 people from the whole community. So congratulations on that one. But can you tell us a little bit more about what actually it is to be a data dev ambassador? Andre?
Yeah, so a data dev ambassador is someone who uses Tableau and Tableau's APIs and uses those APIs to extend the platform, which is the official description of an ambassador. And we try to help people in the community that want to do these kinds of things, like working with the APIs. And the APIs allow you to, for example, embed Tableau in a website, create your own kind of scripts to create hyper files, for example, with the Hyper API. And also things like webhooks. Now, that might all sound very foreign to you, but that's where the data dev ambassadors are for, is to kind of help you with that and be kind of that knowledge hub that they have in the community. Now, we all started fresh, new, so we've been in this for about a month now. So I don't think we have that much experience. I think you as a public ambassador, you have a lot more experience with what you're going to do. But it actually gives us a lot of freedom to kind of shape how the ambassador program and how we as ambassadors kind of contribute to the community.
Nice, thanks, Andre. So, Anya, how did you get involved with being a data dev?
I started earlier this year. There was a series of mini challenges And that was the way for the DataDev team at Tableau to just introduce people to all the different APIs and different options, how to extend and improve the functionality of Tableau using developer tools. And they had levels from 0 to hero. So I have never worked really with this tool. So I started looking at the basic levels, and then just got interested and started learning more and more. And that's where I am now.
Nice. Well, it's great to have you all here. Lane, can you tell me why you're happy to be an ambassador and what it kind of means to you? I know it's still early days to be part of that ambassador program, but what does it mean, and how do you think you can shape the program like Andre mentioned?
Oh, big question. How I can shape the program? Well, for me, when I started my journey, I think the biggest help that I had was learning from other people, and because there wasn't really a DataDev ambassador, or there was a community, I guess, but not as established and formal as this one. There wasn't many people that I could go and seek help from. So I guess as a DataDev ambassador, that would be one of my main aims anyway, is to kind of help people along their journey when they first start doing it, because it can be a bit intimidating, especially when you don't know any code, and that's essentially what it was like for me when I started playing around with the developer tools. So yeah, I think just networking, talking to people, getting people to get involved even if they don't have much experience with it.
Yeah. And Andre, what does it mean to you to be an ambassador for Tableau?
Yeah, it's great because it kind of formalizes a thing that I've been trying to do for like about a year and a half now, I think, and trying to help people and show people that it's actually quite a lot of fun to work with Tableau's APIs. A lot of people are always like a little bit of scared. Like the first time I chatted to Lane about like coding, and she's like, not sure if I can do that. And now she's an ambassador. So there you go. So yeah, trying to help people is a big one. One of the things that Tableau has been doing for years during the conference is doing a hackathon. So the hackathon is always on the Monday of the conference. Well, unfortunately this year there's not been a conference, but it's always like a full day where you can just like you can sit with the Tableau development team, but now also with the ambassadors if there will be a conference in person. And yeah, that's a place to then start learning more about it. You can go there, like Anya said about like 0 to hero. You can just go there if you don't know anything. And that's a great way to kind of get involved and slowly learn. Because I think lots of people that actually start out with Tableau, their main appeal to Tableau is that it's the barrier to entry is very low. So you can, like, with no background in coding, not even in SQL, for example, you can make something really good. And that's kind of what, as an ambassador, we also try to do with the DataDev side of things. Like, coding isn't like that scary thing that's out there.
So that brings us nicely onto one of our questions of, is DataDevs all about code? Do you need to have some understanding, or can you sort of learn as you go? Feel free for anyone to answer that question.
I think it's also about dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs?
We can see from the backgrounds on our side, and it is about T-Rex and tacos. And as I think I want to mention what Andre said as well, it's very creative and fun activities, and there is code involved, but I think it really helps you to look at it not from the boring just type in your code and see what happens point of view, but really see how you can extend something you already know quite well. And yeah, the Tableau the developers team have a lot of fun with creating the APIs and the files they use. So, for example, one of the files they use for creating extensions in Tableau is called .trex. And another one is called .taco. That's for, Andre, help me here. It's for the
Tableau connectors.
Tableau connectors, exactly. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and I really encourage people to just dive in and see where they can get to.
Nice. So that explains why we're all wearing dinosaur t-shirts, including Lane with her drawn DataDev. Great work, team. We've got dinosaurs everywhere. So, what advice would you give to someone that wants to get started being a data dev? Lane?
Ooh, what advice? I think initially be curious. Ask loads of questions, because that's how it started off with me. You know, there was an API connection that I couldn't connect to very easily, and so I thought, okay, what are my other options? Came across the web data connector, and then from there kind of rocketed into this whole project thing. So yeah, ask loads of questions. Don't be scared, because you're not going to know everything, especially if you're new to coding. And also be prepared to spend hours of your time just troubleshooting something, or trying to figure out why something that worked 5 minutes ago no longer works now. Yeah, all the joys of being a data dev person. So yeah, be curious and persevere.
Brilliant. Anya, do you have anything else to add to that, how to get started?
I would recommend looking at the challenges, because even though they're finished now, but there are a lot of resources on this page that are very helpful, and there are a lot of actually examples which you don't need to code anything, you just need to start with them, and it's already written for you, and you can see how it works, and it's really step-by-step guidance, so you can see how it works and start from there. I think that's a really great way to begin your journey.
Nice. Okay, so we have one question on the YouTube. What exactly do we need to do as a beginner in data dev, and how and where should one begin their journey? So Andre, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, the very first thing that I would do is go to tableau.com and then /developer, because there you can sign up for the DataDev program. And the DataDev program is, of course, completely free. And what will happen is you will be added to the DataDev community Slack channel, which is kind of a safe place where you can ask questions and have direct contact with like the development team and everyone else that's in there. But you also get a free Tableau online site. And with that free Tableau online site, you can just basically play around and do anything you can do in Tableau Online, but then basically for one user, of course. That's a great way to basically have a sandbox environment where you can just play around with, because lots of people that use Tableau within their organization typically only have a license on their laptop from work, and they can only connect to a very secure Tableau server that's kind of locked down. So to actually experiment is really difficult. Now, we have the benefit that we work for a partner, so we can basically kind of do anything we want. And if we break it, we have to fix it ourselves. But that doesn't really work if you work for like for example, a financial institution. So sign up for that development program. You get a free online site, and then I would start learning and finding out, for example, which programming language you find interesting. So lots of people that want to move into, say, data science, that really adopt like Python or R as the languages to do that. But if you really want to go into like embedding Tableau or the extensions API, and that's where you definitely need some background in JavaScript. Now, one of the things that you mentioned earlier as well is it all about code, and do I need to learn lots of code? Typically when I do this, I spend 90% just trying to fix bugs or why stuff is not happening. And the other kind of 10% is copy pasting someone else's code. So that everyone has this image of like people like hammering their keyboard, but it's not like that. It would be cool, but it's not. So as Lane said earlier, just be curious and just dive in.
Perfect. Thanks, Andre. So back to our list of questions. Are you able to tell us about one of your data dev projects that you've either worked on in the past or you have coming up in the future, or maybe even both if you're excited about them, as I think you're all going to be? So Anya, let's start with you. Do you have any previous or current or future projects in the pipeline?
I worked on metadata API recently. So as a part of back to school week that we have between placements at Data School, I looked more in depth into metadata API and how you can use it to get access to metadata of about content and data sources that are on Tableau server. And so I would like to look into that more deeply and think about how you can use it, for example, to build a data dictionary or automate processes of getting data about your content on Tableau server in an easy way. Say, for example, you want to get a list of all the calculated fields on your Tableau server or where these calculated fields are used and something like that. So I think that would be a really cool project.
Cool. That sounds a lot like the Postgres database.
There are similar, but I think metadata API has a little bit more metadata in it about the about the content and data sources, and it's really cool. And I think it's a little bit easier to use and easier interface to use.
Nice. Sounds good. Lane, do you want to share any of your current or previous projects that you have on the go for DataDevs?
So my initial project that is probably still going to continue going on was the web data connector one. So the purpose of that was connecting to Xero. So Xero is like an accounting software, and there's not really an easy way of getting the data out from that into Tableau. So building a web data connector was a really good use case for it. It then turned out to be this whole massive thing because on the demos, a web data connector is supposed to be quite easy to build, but it wasn't in my case because there was some authentication problems, and so I had to build this whole back end server thing to deal with the tokens, and then you had to use cookies to send it from the client side to server side, and I didn't even know there was two sides. And these web apps, there were so many things that I learned from it. But yeah, it was definitely not as easy and straightforward as I thought it would be. But I guess that was a good thing because then that just kind of dived me into the whole world of data dev. But I wanted to do something on NLP and trying to get some of that into Tableau because at PwC, which is one of the placements that I had at the data school, there's a very big sort of demand for natural language processing and dealing with just free text. So being able to analyze that very easily, not easily, but easier anyway, would be quite cool. So yeah, I think using some Python code maybe and putting that into Tableau is my next sort of direction. It's good that I said it because now you guys can hold me accountable to it.
Yep, that's exactly why we do these sort of webinars. Would you say it was a steep learning curve for you to jump in straight to a web data connector, or is there easier things that you could have started with to get you on your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely easier ones. Like I think the second project that I worked on was with Andre, and that was like a webhook integration thing, and that was like when you get when something changes in your dashboard on server, you get a Slack notification, and that's basically without any code. You just kind of have to understand what happens in the background of it and the logic of it, but there's not really much code that you need to write for it. But because it was such a steep learning curve, I think a web data connector shouldn't be so steep. I don't think. I think it was just the API that I chose was just incredibly hard to connect to. As you do, you choose the hardest thing when you're first starting to learn something, which is just so just. But yeah, I learned a lot from it. There's definitely, easier tools that you can use.
The webinar that the thing that Lane mentioned that we did with webhooks, like the no code thing, there's a webinar recording on this particular YouTube channel as well. If anyone wants to watch that, if you search on webhooks, you'll find us talking about webhooks where you can learn more about it.
Nice, thank you. Andre, do you have a project that you've done in the past, or a future project that you can share with us?
When I saw the questions before we started, I was like, because I've done like lots of stuff, like more than half of it is just somewhere hidden on my computer and it didn't work, or I've never finished it. The very first one I did was just very silly, but it allowed me to learn a lot of things. So what was it? A few years ago, Tableau had the extensions API, but then in a beta version. So it was only for people that signed up for that program. And that was my first kind of learning how to use the APIs in Tableau. And I built, after weeks of struggling, I built a really, I found it funny integration where you could click on, imagine you have EU Superstore and you click on a bar chart for France, it would generate a random GIF about France. And if you then clicked on Belgium, it would give you a random GIF of Belgium. So that was, of course, a very useful integration, but it allowed me to learn a lot of things. So it allowed me to learn how to work with the extensions API, how to work with the Giphy API to basically generate those GIFs and then display them in the dashboard. So that was really cool. I obviously did not share any of the code publicly, but I think I must have tweeted something like years ago about it. And a future project, this again will make me accountable, but like I'm trying to make or trying to teach people a little bit more. So I did like a whole video series on embedded analytics, but I want to make that a little bit easier for people to learn. So I'm thinking about something, I don't know what yet, to basically make that process of learning a lot easier and give a nicer interface to that. So that's something that I have on my mind.
Yeah, so last week's in the Tableau Public Ambassadors, Ravi termed those projects as the graveyard projects because they just go nowhere and maybe you come back to them eventually. So same can be said about your DataDev projects.
Yeah.
We had Tableau Public workbooks that are just sat there like, I started them, but so the graveyard is where things go to slowly die, I think.
Yeah.
But on that, you said you have a folder on your desktop, but how do you share these DataDev projects with the wider community, and like where are they all stored and how can I get access to them? Anya?
I started actually to learn more about and to understand more what I'm actually doing with these different tools. I started writing more about it, even more for myself to remember how I did certain things and how to also understand better them. So explain to myself. So that's one of the ways people can share it. They just can write blogs. But the main thing maybe is creating GitHub repositories and saving code and maybe also linking to dashboards if you have some kind of extensions created, linking to dashboards on Tableau Public. No, you can't use extensions on Tableau Public. So embedding dashboards then somehow onto a website and showcasing these extensions. But also say, for example, speaking of extensions, you can also share them on extensions gallery that Tableau curates. And if it's going through the process of review and confirmation from Tableau side, then you can actually have your Tableau extensions also available for everyone to be used on Tableau extensions gallery.
Nice. So do you all have your own GitHub site that you share all your code with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That sounds fun. I'll put all of those links into the YouTube description post event. So we've already mentioned the obsession with T-Rexes. Is there a reason that they're called T-Rex? tracks? Like I know it's about extensions, but is it just like Tableau something extensions? Can you define those a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's I think well, obviously we didn't come up with this. But, someone in Seattle had way too much time, I think, on their hands. So it's Tableau extensions, so .tex. But then they thought, let's put an R in it, and R is just for T-Rex. Yeah, so you can give your files any file type, right? It's just whatever those files do that's most important. Yeah, and then you also, Anya mentioned earlier, you have .taco as well. So that stands for the Tableau connector. So whenever you open up Tableau Desktop, you have on the left-hand side, you have all your Tableau connections. And with that connectors SDK, you can basically create your own connector, like a native connector. And the file type for that one is also Tableau connector, which abbreviates to taco. So yeah, someone probably had way too much time on their hands for that.
So if you see anyone walking around at conference with a dinosaur or a taco, then they're probably part of the DataDev community, right? Brilliant. Okay, so what additional tools or resources do you recommend for all of the users? And is there any other tools besides Tableau Desktop that you need? Andre?
Well, you definitely need a text editor. So that's a thing to start with. You can start with Notepad++, but quite quickly you'll notice that you want to move on to something else. And also at the information lab, we use a tool called Postman a lot. So Postman allows you to make API requests. It's a free tool, and it's really useful to test if things are working. So for like testing. Again, I would also create a GitHub account so you can nicely store all your content. What else? Well, definitely sign up for the developer program. Then you get access to the Tableau Online site. Yeah, you'll find out whenever you start doing this that the tools that you need for that.
Anya, do you have any other specific tools that you use?
Yeah, I think I would just forget about Notepad and just start with the Visual Code or some kind of more advanced code editor, because it just makes it so much easier to see how the code is highlighted. And I actually want to mention again the Postman, because, for example, you can use Postman and pre-written code snippets that are created by Tableau to make the creation of webhooks just a breeze. So Postman is really great for that. And yeah, Tableau Online, because you need to understand how your workbooks, your workbooks live in the Tableau server, Tableau Online environment, and how you can interact with them using APIs. So definitely sign up for the program.
Cool. Okay. And then I was just my next question has just literally gone out of my head. What resources would you think about for actually learning the different types of code? I've heard Python and R maybe, but is there any other types of code that or resources that you'd recommend to go and try and find those to help you learn them? Lane?
Yeah, so as Andre mentioned before, a lot of it is copying and pasting code from others. But Tableau, I think, have their own GitHub where they've got loads of examples on there. So that's where I copied most of my web data connect to stuff. And then the other sort of back-end server stuff just copied from, just do a little Google. And then there's a site, I can't remember, but there's like a site that has all of the code basically.
You mean like Stack Overflow?
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, yeah, I would recommend if you want to learn like the language, because you need to learn the languages as such, right? So when you start learning and using, for example, the Hyper API, which you can use Python for, but you need to know a little bit of Python before you can do that. I would recommend like Udemy courses. They're always on discount for some reason, but you can get them for a tenner. Udemy courses. And when I started with this, you first have to figure out what kind of learner you are. Like, do you learn by watching other people? Do you learn from like doing stuff yourself or from reading? So when I started, I actually bought a few books and I just sat down and read about it, rather than actually copy pasting, which is something you do later on. But yeah, it's just like there's so many resources out there that can help you with learning to program.
Okay, brilliant. And then you mentioned that like you get a Tableau site when you sign up to the developer program. Is that a beta version, or is that like a live dev environment? And do you use any of the betas to help with your code or understand whether they break with the new features or things like that? Lane, do you use any of the betas?
No, I've not got as far as that. Still trying to figure out how to break it with the current version.
Brilliant. Okay, Andre.
Yeah, so the online side, one of the good things about the online side is that you're always kind of one version ahead of like production. So imagine I have no clue what version we're on now because there's so many versions. But you're always kind of one ahead, right?
Okay.
And that allows you to kind of explore things. That definitely don't use that Tableau online side in production. I would never do that, just because it's gonna break. Like mine broke many times and I had to fix stuff. So it's just really like a sandbox, like a playground you can use.
And do you all prefer using like doing your DataDevs for Tableau desktop enhancements, or is it more for the Tableau server, Tableau public enhancements? Open floor.
That's a good one.
I'm always curious about automating things. So say like connecting to REST API, writing a script to connect to REST API to get something instead of you going, say, for example, and copying all the names of your workbooks or all the users on your server, or setting up webhooks so you don't need to sit and wait around the server to tell you that the extract refresh failed. So you just have the notification coming in. I think that's what I'm curious about. Yeah, so it's more of a server maybe side, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with server, you can you offer something to lots more people. What's in desktop? Well, Lane is the expert with web data connectors, so she's like really into desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Team desktop.
Team desktop, yeah.
What about Tableau Prep though? Because there's a scripting tool in Tableau Prep as well, right? Could that be something that you could do something for DataDevs? Or in the past, in the future, is there anything in the pipeline for using DataDevs in Tableau Prep to help the functionality?
It is something I want to explore, yes, but I haven't like it's somewhere right. But there is some great capabilities there, because you can then as you feed your data into the script step, and then you can do whatever you want and then output it. Seen, for example, like a Mapbox integration where it does like geocoding, which is not a native functionality, but yeah, there'd be some really cool stuff you can probably do there. But I have no experience with that. Maybe Anya has more prep experience.
Yeah, no, I just want to mention that, for example, Andre, when I started looking at the metadata API, I came across Andre's article on connecting to metadata API in Ultrix. So that was really interesting. And I think you can do that because you just use the REST API. So you can connect to it using Python. Hence, you can connect to it in Tableau Prep using this script step. Haven't tried that. So I can't guarantee that it will work as smoothly as I expect. But that's something, yeah, I wanted to try out to see how that works, because that might be really nice all-in-all environment, starting with Tableau Prep and taking it into Tableau Desktop. Or, yeah.
Well, you've got it on record now, so you kind of got to do some sort of experiment with it.
It's on my list, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so you also mentioned the DataDev site challenge, the mini challenges at the start of either this year or the end of last year. Are they still going, or are they sort of on pause at the minute? And how did you get on with those? Lane?
So I think they're on pause at the moment. They're on for like 3 months. I think like 18 challenges, and then with each one, I think you had like a different level. So what Anya said, you had like from 0 to hero. I haven't actually tried any of them, confession, but I will do soon. It's on my to-do list.
There was no web
Committed.
data connector.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Hint, hint with the next one.
Yeah, so I think they'll continue with them at some point. Yeah, maybe they might ask us as ambassadors to help out with that. We don't know.
Yeah, they are finished now, but their website is still there. So I would highly recommend to go and to see all the resources they have there. It's really great page to start learning. Yeah.
And do they have all the challenges on that website to give you sort of like ideas of where to start?
Yeah. And all the starters and examples as well. So it's really great.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and recordings as well. So after every session, there was a webinar where 2 or 3 people basically showed their approach and their solution. Now, of course, like if 3 people basically present on the same thing, you get 3 answers, right? Because there's no one solution to things. So that makes it really interesting. You can watch all of those back there on Tableau's YouTube page.
Nice. I will add another link to the resources section for that. There's some questions in the YouTube chat. Can we embed Tableau Prep inside Tableau Desktop in a data connection window using the Tableau Dev program?
Of course you can. Yes.
I think there is no limit to what you can
no
do.
limit. No.
Reach for the sky, I guess.
Reach for the sky. Yeah.
So that could be possible somewhere down the line.
No.
No?
No, but you can try.
You can try. Okay. So yeah, they've submitted an idea on the forum too to see.
I'm curious though, if Tableau Prep is now web-based, it's going to be web-based. You can actually create an extension to embed Tableau Prep inside the dashboard, but I don't know what it will do with the end.
Yeah.
You can.
I build an extension so that you can. So the other tool that we use a lot is Ultrix, which is also no code drag and drop data preparation. And I made an extension where you can run your Ultrix workflows and your apps in a Tableau dashboard. I built it 2 years ago and still haven't found a use case. So yeah, you might be able to do it, but I'm not sure what the use case is.
Cool. So you've mentioned quite a lot of like APIs and different types of APIs. How many different things can you do with DataDevs? Is there quite a lot of different elements of DataDev, or is it all pretty similar with the code?
Variety, right? I think there's different categories of it. So you can do like, there's a data science set of APIs. There's like what are the ones, Andre and Anya? There's like integration ones or automation.
Extensibility,
yeah, the data connector stuff. So yeah, there's a variety of stuff that you can do.
Yeah, so for example, Lauren, you mentioned earlier that metadata sounds like metadata API sounds very similar to REST API. But say, for example, with REST API, you can just access or add or delete or update stuff on the server. But then with metadata API, you can see the relationship and lineage between the parts of the different content and different data sources on the server. So they just allow you to work with your data in different ways. And Andre mentioned Hyper API that allows you to create Hyper files. And then there is an extensions API. They just work
There's
in different ways.
JavaScript API.
JavaScript API.
Embedding, connectors.
Document API.
Oh, yeah, document API.
Yeah.
That one's not in development anymore, but.
Oh, okay. webhooks. It's not an API. It's based on the REST API, but
yeah, it's automation.
thing we can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So we've talked about a lot about the data devs and the ambassadors. Is there anything else that you want to sort of tell people about the data dev program, or anything to do with data devs themselves, Andre?
Oh, if I wanna, well, yeah, get involved with the community. That's how you learn and how you can, like, I would say, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we'll also put lots of videos on there. Get stuck in, and like learn in public, right? That's the thing, like learn in public, try to, like when you do stuff, like ask other people about it.
Yeah. Wasn't there something with embedded stuff that you wanted to talk about, Andre?
Oh, I can talk about embedded. Yeah, so if you want to learn more about embedded analytics, I have a whole website on that. If you go to embedding.theinformationlab.co.uk, you can see how embedding could look like for you. If you're interested in that, it's basically integrating Tableau dashboards in web applications. And there's a whole learning section as well. So I recorded about 2.5 hours of video content, which starts from 0. It won't bring you all the way to hero, but it will get you up and running. And you can then learn more about how you can integrate Tableau.
Nice. Okay, so that is the end of our questions. But now I have some quick fire questions to ask you. So I want an either the A or B answer as best as you can, because I know these are pretty tough questions to just give a single answer for. So the order that we'll go in is Andre, Anya, Lane. Okay. So the first one is, are you more tiled or floating?
Well, A, tiled.
Anya?
Oh, we're all answering the same. Tiled. Yeah,
Tiled.
no question.
Lane?
Tiled, yeah, tiled.
All team tiled. Nice.
Can I give a reason why?
Quickly, go on.
Well, if you're embedding Tableau as well, and you see it on Tableau server as well, when you're loading stuff, like shifts everywhere.
Is it easier to do embed with containers that you give a name to, so that you can pick those out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Next question. Are you level of details or table calcs? Andre?
For teaching people.
No.
LOD. Okay, I'll do level of detail.
Anya?
Yeah, LOD as well.
Lane?
D for me.
LOD as well. So you're all the same. I wonder if data devs are just gonna all pick the same ones. Let's keep going. Makeover Monday or Workout Wednesday?
Ooh. Well, you're asking, I should say B, but I've learned more about A, so I'm gonna say A. Makeover Monday.
Anya?
Yeah, Workout Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah, Workout Wednesday for me too.
Woohoo. Okay, pie charts. We all love them or hate them. Do you love them or hate them?
Yes, I like them.
You like them.
Love
Okay.
them.
Anya?
Yeah, I'm more of a donut chart person.
Okay.
I can find a compromise.
God, no, I hate them.
Okay, and then dashboards. Are you a light or a dark person?
Ooh, light.
Light.
Yeah, light.
Nice. Scrolly or no?
No, everything needs to fit in the window that people.
Even with your embedded dashboards?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially. Yeah, I think no, not scrolling.
I like scrolling, so yes for me.
Interesting. And then, are you more static first or interactive first?
Interactive first. Come on, you're using Tableau.
Yeah, it's Tableau, interactive.
Okay.
Yeah, interactive. Let people work it out themselves.
Great.
Move over
Okay.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions that we have for you all today. So thank you very much for joining. Next Tuesday, we have a mix of 4 ambassadors from our socials, user group and forums platforms. And that includes Carl Altchin, Amanda Patiste, Diego Parker and Heidi Kalb. And then you can sign up on our meetup page, which is till.bi/talk data. And you'll see all of our other events there too. So any final words from any of you?
DataDev. Okay, I say that because we just had a meeting. We had like a round table a month ago, and apparently in Tableau, the DataDevs, when they pass each other in the halls, they just yell DataDev. So doing that here.
Okay, so everyone shout DataDevs.
Dev.
So thank you everyone for joining this webinar, and goodbye from us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.